Hello folks and welcome to another video of Bio-ProTech. In this particular video, we'll be talking about the convolutional neural network and its application in biological medical data analysis. Okay, or basically medical image data analysis. So convolutional neural network is a part of machine learning and falls into the bigger picture of AI, which is used for your medical image data analysis. Any kind of image data analysis can be used for. So basically, it is used in computer vision. Let's suppose you are using your face to unlock in your phone the feature that you normally have. Okay, so that also uses computer vision that is backed by your convolutional neural networks. Apart from that, whenever you are using Google Lens, let's suppose you are scanning a particular image or basically a flower that you don't know of. So what it would do is it will take the snapshot of that particular particular flower. Okay, try to take that particular picture and then basically divide it into multiple facets as small pixel. It will analyze all of the pixels, and based on that it will give you the knowledge from the internet that where it belongs to, where you can find that particular image. Okay, and what is that particular image all about, what is the name of the plant, just that. Okay, so basically, in order to identify any image, okay, and to do any kind of analysis, we would be requiring your convolutional neural networks. So it is the most sophisticated kind of a neural network that is out there. Okay, so I'm starting with the heavier part over here. So if you don't have any prior knowledge of AI ML, so please follow with me. I will just give you a brief on where this particular convolutional neural network falls into the bigger picture of AI and what is AI, what is ML, what is deep learning, what is your neural networks, and then we will come on to the convolutional neural network, which is a type of neural network. Okay, so which is used for analyzing integrate data, particularly image-based data. Okay, so because finding pattern from the images is the most toughest thing out there, and that is why for the same we use convolutional neural networks. Okay, so with that note, so we will get started. So I will just share my screen. Okay, and just I will share some of the PPTs, not much of a jargon, only 3-4 slides to make you understand about the brief and the introduction of the introductory stuff. Okay, after that we will move on to the practicals of how we can take a medical image. We will take an example of a pneumonia and a normal patient image, and how we can use that particular thing to train our machine learning algorithm. Okay, train our CNN algorithm to analyze that a particular medical image is having pneumonia or not. Okay, so here we are. So basically we'll be talking about the basics of AIML first, then we will go on to the convolutional neural network and how it can be used for your analyzing images. Okay, so how we can train our machine learning algorithm for your convolutional neural networks, and how we can use that particular thing to basically categorize between the images that a particular medical image, let's suppose it can be from your CT, PET CT, MRI scans. Okay, so all of those images can be analyzed. It can be USG based images also, any kind of image. Okay, imaging technique that you talk about, the radiological images we are talking about. So basically, in the future, mostly it would be very helpful for the radiologist to use this, or it can also be used to replace the radiologist. Okay, so either to help them, or we can basically replace the radiologist in most of the cases. Okay, so when we are talking about the cancer detection also, in the cancer image detection, what is the progression of the cancer we can analyze. Okay, then like a particular patient is having cancer or not, all of those things we can basically analyze using this particular type of convolutional neural networks. Okay, trained on multiple image data. Okay, so and in order to analyze the cancer image, of course we need to train the machine learning algorithm using those kind of an images. Okay, so what is training this, that we'll be talking about in brief because the session is on CNN. Okay, so I will just give you a brief on what is the AI, what is the ML, what are the different sets of AI that you see. Okay, so first things first, so let's get a pen by our side for the ease of understanding. So we are talking about artificial intelligence. Okay, so what is artificial intelligence as a whole? So basically, artificial intelligence refers to the computer's ability to basically mimic human intelligence. Okay, so here we are trying to mimic human intelligence Okay, and what makes us intelligence is our makes us intelligent is our IQ. Okay, and that particular intelligence comes from our brain, isn't it? So our brain gives that particular intelligence to us, and based on that, what, like, let's suppose in a particular class there are 100 students. Everyone will be listening to the same lecture but would be analyzing that particular thing differently based on their experience, based on their IQ. Okay, but where the IQ is coming from, basically from the past experiences or from the training that the particular person has gotten, okay, or he or she is having from his or her childhood. Okay, so basically how you are trained, what are the data that you're trained upon or your brain is trained upon, matters a lot. Just like that, in order to achieve artificial intelligence, okay, so you need to have a thing which acts like a brain, which can basically mimics the human intelligence and make the machines intelligent. Okay, so that particular task is done by your machine learning. Like your brain is learning from the past experiences, okay, from like the training that you have got, okay, so from your childhood. Likewise, we need to train our machine learning algorithm in order to become intelligent and learn from the training data set. Okay, so we have three kind of data set majorly. One is called as your training data set, another is your test data set, okay, the third is your validation data set, okay, or evaluationary data set, same thing. Okay, so basically training data set would be more, let's suppose I am having a data, so I am having the raw data as 100% of the data I am having. So I would be using the maximum amount of that particular data to train my machine learning algorithm. Okay, so it is just like in a subject, let's suppose you want to read a subject, okay, and for that you need to go through a whole lot of books. Let's suppose I'm talking about biotechnology. Okay, for reading biotechnology or let's suppose any part of computer science also, you need to study whole lot of books for a particular concerned subject. Okay, but in the test you would be asked only few of the questions. Okay, and the questions won't be directly from the books as it is, it won't be asked, but it will draw its inspiration from the book so that it can judge that how much you have learned or not. Okay, so that is about the test data. Okay, so the test data, so if we are having 100% raw data, so we will use 80% of that for training purpose. Okay, so to train our algorithm, so via which it will learn that which one is the normal data set, which one is the cancer data set. Let's suppose we are talking about the example of taking the example of cancer. Okay, so we have to train our machine learning algorithm using multiple of such images of your normal cancer. Okay, like a normal patient, pardon, okay, normal healthy patient, than your benign tumor, malignant tumor, different stages of tumors, okay, solid tumor, liquid biopsy results, okay, all kind of, all different sort of like results that you can think of. You need to train the algorithm like that. It is just like the more diverse kind of books you read, the more wiser you become. Okay, just like that, the more diverse data you use for the training purpose, the more efficient your machine learning algorithm will become, and it will be more accurate. Okay, so taking that as an inspiration, so 80% of the data we'll use for training, and we will take, like, let's suppose 15% of the data we are using for test. Okay, and 5% for your validation. Okay, so what is this 15% and 5%? Of course the total constitutes to be 100%. Okay, adds up to be 100%. So 80% used for training purpose, 15% for test. Basically from that particular data, we will take one or two in order to judge that. Let's suppose from that particular data I have taken two of the images, and when my machine learning algorithm has learned that how to segregate between what particular type of cancer the particular patient is having, cancer or not, what staging of cancer he or she is having, is a lump that is there, so that can cause cancer or not, or it is having already a cancer or not. Okay, all of those things how we can judge. So for that we'll be using the test data in order to see how much our algorithm has learned. Just like you give an exam, no, to and what is that particular exam is for? To judge that how much you have learned from your books. The questions in the exam won't be the exactly the same that you have read, but from the knowledge that you have gained from this from those books, Now, based on that particular knowledge, you will be using your intellect, and based on that, you will be answering the test. That is what the machine learning algorithm is exactly doing. Okay, so the test data is basically to validate, or in order to see that how much our algorithm has learned. Now the validation data set. Okay, so the validation data set is basically used for your validating. Okay, so validating means, let's suppose once you give the test, how do you know that what is your accuracy in that particular test? Once the evaluation is done. Okay, so it is also called as the evaluationary data set. Okay, so evaluationary data would be basically evaluating how much is the accuracy of your model. So there would be multiple losses also, because in actual life you don't get 100%. Okay, so if you are getting 88% accuracy, 90% accuracy, good enough, decent enough. Okay, so that particular thing means what? If I say that 90% accuracy is achieved by a machine learning algorithm, okay, so that means if I'm giving it 10 tasks, okay, 9 of them it is able to do it precisely well. Okay, rightly it is able to judge for 9 of them. Okay, one it might get wrong because the efficiency is 90% over here. Okay, so of course our intention is to get more of accuracy. Okay, and that is what the machine learning algorithm is all about. Okay, and you can think it of, then what is AI? We are talking about machine learning. Just like how your brain is used to achieve your intelligence, just like that we have multiple tools, okay, which can be clubbed together to form the larger picture that is called as your AI. Okay, so AI is the bigger umbrella. Okay, so AI is the bigger umbrella, like you can see in the Venn diagram. Okay, so AI is all encompassing. Okay, so all encompassing is your AI, and under which falls your machine learning, deep learning, okay, natural language processing. So natural language processing is used when, let's suppose you're talking about a natural expression. Let's suppose I'm smiling, okay, or basically I'm sad. So you must have seen some of the algorithms which can judge that what's your mood, how it can judge basically from your facial expression. Okay, so that particular thing, whenever a natural expression is to be judged for, then we use natural language processing. So here in the Venn diagram also you can see there is certain gray area in between. So these particular type of tasks, okay, can be done using all of them. Okay, either you can club multiple algorithms like machine learning, natural language processing, deep learning, neural network, all of those. Okay, or like individually they are also capable of doing certain tasks that can be done by the virtue of all of them, or combination of all of them. Okay, so that is there. So under deep learning is a sect, okay, called as your neural networks. Okay, so neural networks falls under your deep learning itself. Then under deep learning you have multiple types of neural network. So you have artificial neural network. Okay, so then your recurrent neural network, RNN it is called as. Okay, then you have CNN. Okay, convolutional neural network. So we are talking about the convolutional neural network in today's session. Okay, so of course it is in much depth. Okay, so in the further upcoming session we will talk about the easier stuff also. Why I'm starting with the tougher stuff? Because the people have demanded so from the channel. Okay, so in order to get those things first, and then we will try to get the things on the lighter note as well. Okay, so convolutional neural network can be used for various kind of image analysis. Okay, not only medical images, but being a biologist, and in this particular channel, we are talking in the perspective of biology, drug discovery, bioinformatics, and chem informatics, those lines. So we'll be talking about the medical image data analysis using CNN. Okay, so that is there. So any kind of image can be analyzed. Basically, why CNN is having that particular capability of analyzing image based data? Because the feature extraction from the images is very difficult. Okay, so a particular image that you see would be having multiple things. Okay, so which particular part to give emphasis upon, we don't know. So that is why the CNN can decipher that which particular part is to be given more emphasis upon, and then it can extract the feature from that by dividing this particular picture into multiple small pixel, because a picture is made up of pixels, isn't it? The smallest unit of picture is pixels. Like our body is made out of small cells, and all of the cells constitutes our body. Likewise, you have multiple small pixel which constitutes the whole picture. So that is why it is counted upon the PPI also, pixel per inch. More this particular pixel per inch is there in an inch, more number of pixel that you have means the pixel density is more, that the resolution of the image is much higher. Okay, so based on that, all of the things will be done. Okay, so I have already told you that the under this particular bigger umbrella of artificial intelligence comes multiple tools which can be used to achieve AI. Basically, AI is a state. Okay, so you have your artificial what do you say, narrow intelligence, which can do certain kind of job, like you have your Siri, Alexa, okay, like Samsung's Bixby, this that. Okay, so and so, certain chatbots, okay, so which are specialized for a particular task. So those falls under artificial narrow intelligence, okay, ANI. Okay, then you have nowadays, you have like working upon AGIs, that artificial general intelligence. All of the robots, okay, like Sophia would be an example, or like any of the robots that you see which are as capable as human to solve any task, those will be artificial general intelligence. Okay, so which can be at par with the human in solving any kind of problem, in all sort of problem solving, it can be in par with the human. Okay, then you have artificial super intelligence, which basically surpasses the human limits. Okay, so when the AI can surpass the human limit and can do certain things which the human currently can't do. Okay, so that is your ASI, artificial super intelligence. Okay, so more on those things, we will be having separate session on each of them. Okay, so the time is not much, so that is why I'm like trying to justify all the things in short facets. Okay, so these things we have talked about. So you have your machine learning, under which comes your deep learning. Why is it called deep? Because just like how you do deep thinking, no, so while you are into your deep thoughts or overthinking you are doing, so you are into slumber of thoughts, multiple layers of thoughts you get. Okay, just like that, it is called as deep learning because it uses multiple layers in between to analyze the data, and each of the layers are connected to each other, sharing information between themselves. Okay, so that the information can be traced back. Okay, so that is why it is called as deep, because it has multiple layers. Okay, and all of the layers cannot be basically like so there is not a fixed amount of layer based on the different kind of, what do you say, intricacy of the problem. As the intricacy of the problem increases, or the depthness or complexity of the problem increases, you keep on adding more layers to it. Okay, so because it uses multiple layers to analyze the data, and it can come up with sophisticated results. Okay, and which particular thing cannot be basically what do you say, you cannot basically judge it directly. Okay, so using the same deep learning algorithm, you can solve the similar problem twice and it will give you different result. Okay, right only, but the accuracy will increase, and likewise based on multiple types of layer that it uses. Okay, more number of layer if it uses, more accurate it would be, but it would be more time consuming and computationally more intensive. Okay, because of its because of this particular algorithm using multiple of layers. Okay, these are called as deep layers, so that is why the algorithm is called as deep learning, and it is used to solve intricate and complex problem. For the normal calculation, normal kind of problem, we don't use deep learning. We'll be using normal machine learning algorithm, like the supervised, unsupervised, the supervised which would be having labels, unsupervised doesn't have labels. Okay, those things are there. Based on that, we'll be doing it. Okay, then you have the neural networks. Basically, neural networks are also called as the brain of the computers, or basically the, not brain of the computers, brain of the algorithm. Just like it is trying to mimic the human brain. Just like in the human brain, we have a neuronal connection and the neuronal network is there. And whenever we are using any certain data, that particular data is analyzed via multiple of the neuronal connections that we have via the synaptic signals. Okay, so that particular similar thing is done in the computers, and it is called as a unit. One neuron, what is called as in biological network, here it is concerned to as one unit. Okay, it is called as one unit instead of one neuron. So multiple of the neurons are connected likewise. Okay, so more on that in the further slides. Okay, so computer vision uses convolutional neural network as stated already. So it is used for analyzing your image based data. Then natural language processing for your any kind of natural expression that you want to analyze would be coming under natural language processing. Apart from that, you also have your LLMs. Okay, so large language model nowadays that you use all of the GPTs. Okay, so like your graph GPT, chat GPT, then your DeepSeek, all of those things are large language model because they have something called as a generative AI. Okay, so generative AI, basically what it does, generative AI concerns with generating something, because whenever you are giving a query to your Gemini, to your DeepSeek, to your chat GPT, what it is doing, it is generating text for you, it is generating the result answers for you. Okay, so that is a part of your generative AI. Okay, so so Gen AI, generative AI, that is there. Okay, so then you have agentic AI. So there are multiple sets of AI, so that we will be talking about in the separate sessions that we have. Okay, so I just don't want to burden you with all of the knowledge in one of the session. Okay, so this is about the overview of the AI. Now we will move on to the convolutional neural network statement. Okay, so as stated, the main feature that the convolutional neural network has, which is making it different from all of the other neural networks, is what is the basic architecture of a neural network. First, understand that. Okay, so the basic architecture of neural network concerns with an input. Okay, then you have multiple hidden layers. Okay, hidden layers are basically consecutive deep layers, basically. Okay, multiple layers that you have which are having connections between themselves. And why those are called as hidden layers? Because it can be n numbers. Okay, so there is no fixed number to this particular hidden layers. They are interconnected, sharing knowledge between themselves, and they can change based on the intricacy of the problem. Okay, so hidden layers and then the output. This is the basic architecture of a neural network. Okay, then you have artificial neural network. Basically it's the same thing, because we are executing all of the things in neural network. So basically whenever we are talking about neural network in the context of computers, we are talking about ANN, artificial neural network. Okay, then you have RNN, recurrent neural network, which is used to analyze patterns from the textual data, contextual data, or textual data, sequence based data, just like you have your DNA sequence, RNA sequence, and then your protein amino acid sequence. If you want to analyze the pattern from that, you will be using RNN in that particular case. Okay, then coming on to CNN, which is used for your image based data. Okay, so and I have already told you that image based data being the most intricate and most complex kind of a data. So it is having something which the other neural network algorithm are not having. And what are those particular layers? It is having 4 more feature extraction layer than the others. Okay, so in between this hidden, like input, hidden, and output, in between the input and the hidden layer, it is having 4 more layers. Okay, what are those layers? I will be talking about all those layers in the upcoming slide. Okay, so as of now, just understand it is having 4 more feature extraction layer. And what is the purpose of those particular feature extraction layer? As stated, feature extraction is the main purpose. Okay, so how the feature extraction is done? Okay, so let's suppose this is an image. Okay, so if this is an image, so an image would be having the width, height, okay, and the like XYZ coordinates. You would be having mostly your length, width, height. Okay, so or length, breadth, height. Okay, so that is there. Okay, so based on that you will be judging for. So initially you will be having 3 dimension, and based on that, what is the first job of yours? You need to, or basically not you, the algorithm would be analyzing this particular data by dividing it into multiple small pictures. Okay, so basically small pixels, not pictures. Okay, small pixel, it will divide it into. Here you can see the example would be, here you can see the first image is having a cycle. In the second one, it is divided to small chunks, And in the further picture, it is far more divided into multiple small picture, small facets, as small what do you say, subsections or parts. Okay, and each of the part can be analyzed individually and find pattern from those particular images to see that what this particular picture concerns to. And this is how the segregation can be done from from different images, because when you divide all of those different images into small facets, so it will reveal some different kind of patterns, and those particular patterns are what the CNN will be analyzing, and based on that the algorithm will be trained upon. Okay, here you can see like width, height and breadth. Okay, so would be taken, and then you have something called as kernel. Okay, so how the feature is extracted. So these particular kernels that you see would be hovered over, or basically like what you say, scanned over the whole images to look for each of the pixel and what is the exact unique feature tag that all of the individual pixels are having. Based on that, the feature map will be generated. After this, you will be having a feature map, and for this we are having the absolute first layer of convolutional neural network, that is called as your convolutional layer. Okay, so let's talk about the layers first. First is the input layer, then you have convolutional layer. Okay, then you have your activation function layer. Okay, then you have the pooling layer. Okay, pooling layer. Then you have the flattening layer. Okay, post that you are having the hidden layer that I have already told you. Hidden layer or fully connected layer also, it is called as same thing. Then you have the output. Okay, so these four layers that we have talked about are feature extraction layers. Okay, these are used for feature extraction, whereas this is used for your analysis purpose, any kind of analysis concerning with like analysis concerning with your any kind of you want to pursue uh, what do you say, your clustering, classification, what kind of problem you want to do. Okay, so that will be done using your hidden layers. Okay, or fully connected layer. Then you have the output. Okay, so input would be having the all of the different images, and from that the features would be extracted using all of these layers, and then the hidden layer will analyze that particular thing and segregate it based on what kind of what do you say, thing you want to perform. You want to do a supervised learning, that you want to do a regression or a classification, or in the unsupervised you want to do a clustering or association you want to look for. Okay, so based on that it will be analyzing. Okay, so let's suppose we are taking this particular image. Okay, so this, how do I know this particular image concerns to a what do you say, your car? Okay, for that initially the convolutional layer will use a kernel to scan over the whole image, extracting the features and taking the feature map, and then it will be passed on to the activation function layer. So what is the role of activation function layer? Basically, activation function layer adds non-linearity to the system. Okay, so what is non-linearity? Basically, see, linear means a straight equation. So y equals to mx plus c that you have read. Okay, y equals to mx plus c is the straight line equation. Okay, so that is a linear equation. So just like if you are like transversing knowledge from one pocket to another pocket, okay, or basically you are like analyzing a particular thing. I have I receive something, I receive some knowledge from a particular person, and I use it and straight away pass it to the next person. So linear channelization. So in this there is nothing intelligent about it. I was just the convener of it. Okay, so I was just the middleman. I haven't added any of my insights to that particular data, and I haven't changed that particular data, so nothing is intelligent about it. Okay, so because of that, a particular machine convolutional neural network or any kind of neural network cannot learn with only a linear function attached to it. It needs to have an activation function which adds non-linearity to the system, which makes the algorithm intelligent enough, okay, to analyze the data in which the normal what do you say, normally you cannot analyze that like this. Okay, so it is just like being intelligent about it. That is how the intelligence, artificial intelligence, is achieved. Okay, so just like the same talk is delivered, everyone brain will analyze that particular thing in a different way. They would understand in a different way. Why? All of you are having similar kind of brain, but the neuronal connection and how you process that particular data differs. Okay, just like that, we need to have a activation function which adds non-linearity to the system, which can be used to achieve artificial intelligence basically. Okay, and here we are talking about in order to achieve the like in order to learn the intricate features that are there in the images which other algorithm fails to do so. That is why the CNN is unique. Okay, after that comes your pooling layer and flattening layer. So first of all, pooling layer and flattening layer, both of them are not used always. Okay, pooling layer is used alternatively, you can say. Okay, or whenever it is required. So what is the purpose of a pooling layer? Pooling layer is used for dimensionality reduction. Okay, so what is dimensionality reduction? Just like how you want to store a particular file into a storage system, but the storage is full, let's suppose. So how would you reduce the storage? By zipping the file. That is one of the way how you can store a bigger file, zip it, and that particular zip file you can store. Just like that, you want to reduce the dimension of the calculation, because if you are analyzing, let's suppose, thousands of image at once. Okay, so and each of the image is divided into multiple pixel, and then again pixel to much smaller part of that. So there are a whole lot of calculation, and the computation becomes burdensome. Okay, so in order to reduce the burden of the computers, what we need to do, periodically we need to reduce that particular burden by reducing the dimensions of it. Okay, so for that we use pooling layer. Okay, so there are multiple types of pooling possible. One is called as your maximum pooling, one is called as your average pooling. So it is not that randomly you can reduce the size of it. Okay, so based on the matrix you need to carry out, if it is a 2 into 2 matrix, 2 stride size you are taking, then there is a restriction that how you will calculate, how you will reduce the particular size. Okay, so I will talk about that in the next slide. Okay, then comes your flattening layer. So what is the role of flattening layer? Basically, it flattens the dimension of it. Okay, so because till now we were working with 3D image or 2D image mostly. Okay, but the hidden layer cannot process a 3D or a 2D image. It requires the data to be in one dimension. Okay, so that is what the role of flattening layer is. It will convert the 2D to one dimensional vector. Okay, so two-dimensional vector to one-dimensional vector, so that it can be inserted into the hidden layer, and further processing will happen in the hidden layer. And after that we'll use another activation function like sigmoid or tenth. Okay, so or softmax, basically softmax. And what is the role of this activation function? It is different to this one. Okay, so this activation function was to add non-linearity, whereas this particular activation function is to convert the machine readable language to human readable, because machine readable language is 1-0 binary, but we cannot directly rely upon only binary. So we need a human readable thing. Let's suppose that in percentage we require that is 70%. This is a car. Here you can see 70%, this is a car, so this is an output. Okay, then like let's suppose 20% this can be a truck, and like 5% it can be a plane, and then 3% it can be a ship, 2% it can be a horse, and likewise. Okay, so the maximum probability of this particular image being of a car, because it matches all of the features of the car. Okay, and how does it know that it matches the features of the car? Because the algorithm is trained using multiple of such images, and multiple of the car images it is trained upon now based on all of those features that it already has in its mind. Okay, so in the machine learning algorithm or in the CNN algorithm, basically now based on those particular features it can judge, okay, it is having 4 wheels, it is just like a sedan, it is having this much of a space, this is the height of the thing. Okay, so this is the chases, this that. Okay, so based on that, this can be a car. 70% this can be a car. Okay, so that is there. Likewise it will do. Okay, so basically whenever we are talking like this, so we will take the example of your let's suppose, how do we do the pooling? Okay, so I have already told you this is the input, this is the kernel. I was talking about what is the kernel. Kernel is basically a very small matrix, 2 into 2 matrix, let's suppose 2 into 2 matrix. So it acts just like a magnifying glass. If you're reading a piece of paper and you want to read each line in depth, so what you will do, you will hold the magnifying glass and then you will scan over the whole paper, no, like looking for each, like if you want to go in depth of each of the words, okay, very precisely, just like that we use like the particular algorithm would be using a kernel, and it will hover this particular kernel over the whole image looking for different features. Okay, and based on whatever feature is most important, based on that it will be assigning a weight. Okay, so one more thing is there, how the hidden layer calculates. So there is a way of calculating. I'm coming on to that in a while. Okay, so see, in an image, so there are multiple things going on. Okay, here you can see there is a background is there. So here it's a zebra, that is the main subject of the image. Okay, so if it gives the same weightage to the background and same weightage to the subject, then it doesn't make sense. Okay, because the feature map should be having, like, you should be giving more emphasis upon the things that should be of pivotal importance. Okay, so the subject has to be given more emphasis upon, just like the zebra in this particular case. So how can we do that? So we do that based on weights basically. Okay, so I will talk about that. So that particular thing is done in the hidden layers basically. So first of all, how the feature extraction is done, using kernel, hovered over this, and then we have the feature map. Okay, feature map is done. Okay, and the feature map is carried out by convolutional layer and ReLU. ReLU is an example of a activation function layer. So there are multiple activation function layer possible. One is called as ReLU, ReLU. Okay, so then you have leaky ReLU. Okay, leaky ReLU is there. Okay, sigmoid is there, tenth is there. Okay, softmax is there. CUC softmax is also a type of activation function. Then you have sigmoid is another. Okay, sigmoid is another. So there are multiple types of such what do you say, like activation function layer. So it will always be in the combination. Here you can see this particular chunk is being taken, then now from this chunk again this chunk is, like, you are going deeper, deeper, as much deep you can go. Okay, so how much depth you want to go in. So whenever you are going into so much of a depth, so much of calculation is becoming burdensome for the computer, and in order to reduce that particular dimension, we use pooling layer in between. Here you can see in between, here you are doing it for 3, then you are doing it for, let's suppose, 16, then like likewise. Okay, so normally it is done in multiples. Okay, so 8, 16, 32, and likewise. Okay, so in between, whenever it is required, you will be using the pooling layer to basically decrease the burden for the computer. And how would you do that? By basically what is dimensionality reduction. You will reduce the dimensions of it or the size of it by using two types of pooling. One is called as your max pooling. This is an example of max pooling. You also have average pooling, by the way. Okay, so how do you do a max pooling or average pooling? If you are using a 2 into 2 filter, 2 into 2 filter means this. Okay, in this particular thing, and the stride is also 2. Stride means how much you are taking at once. 2 you are taking at once. So this particular whole matrix can be divided into 4 quadrants. No, these 4 particular quadrants, it can be divided into. And now if we are doing a max pooling, we will take the maximum value out of it and give it. So what is the maximum value in here? 6 from the first quadrant, 6 gets over here. So in this one, maximum is 8, 8 gets over here. In this one, maximum is 4, 4 gets over here. And the 3 is the maximum in this. So 3 gets over here. So the dimension is reduced with all of the information. Okay, and if we're doing average of the same thing, average pooling, if we're doing, so then what we will do, how you do average? 1 plus 5 plus 6 divided by total number of observation, that is 4. Okay, again for the second you will calculate what would be the resultant that will come over here. Okay, so then the second would be 2 plus 4 plus 7 plus 8 divided by again 4 only, because the total number of observation is 4 again. Okay, so whatever be the resultant of that will go on to here, will because we are calculating for this one. Okay. Likewise, you will do the average pooling. Okay. So pooling will reduce the dimension, and then comes the flattening layer that you see, because flattening layer is just before the fully connected layer or hidden layer, same thing it is. Okay. So why it is called as fully connected layer? Because all of the layers that you see are connected with each other and sharing information. None of the information is lost. Knowledge is not lost. That is why. And they are interconnected to each other. Any of the nodes can be traced back to any of the nodes. Likewise. That is why. Okay, so the no information is lost, but it is using deep layers and it helps the system to think in a deeper way. Okay, and that is how it can come up with novel results. Okay, that normally you can't do with all of the support vector machine, normal, random forest, this, that. Algorithm are not capable of doing that. Okay, so flattening layer purpose is to change the 3D or 2D, two-dimensional image to one-dimensional vector, so that it can be proceeded for the hidden layer to be analyzed, and then it will be once the result has come out, it will be changed via softmax or activation function to the human readable language. Then it will give us the result that it is 70% it is zebra, 20% it can be a horse, 10% it can be a dog. Okay, so of course it is a zebra that you see. Okay, so here you can see, but in normal scenario, what will happen is multiple of such images would be used, and when the new image is inserted into the algorithm, now it can analyze that the new image belongs to which particular class. Okay, so that is the main idea. Now when we were talking about the hidden layer, okay, so hidden layer calculation goes like, you have the input. Okay, so whatever the input from the flattening layer comes in, input equals to, or basically we calculate for the output always. So output equals to, so for the output y equals to w is the weight into the input, okay, plus bias. Okay, so that is the calculation. Okay, and it follows the same principle of y equals to mx plus c. Here you can see there is a parallel between these two. Okay, so it follows the same, y equals to mx plus c, y is being the output, w being the weight, I being the input, and b being the bias. So what is a weight and a bias? Let's under input and output, you already understand. So weights, basically how much of a weight you need to give. Like let's suppose we are having multiple inputs. Okay, so which particular input is to be given more emphasis upon? So based on that, we will increase the weights of that. Weights are dynamic in nature. Always keep this in mind. Weights are dynamic in nature, ever changing, and the bias is constant in nature. Okay, or static. It is not changing. So bias would be a single value. Either you keep it as 1 or 2, whatever value, it will be added irrespective of any of the like input 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's suppose you have input 1, input 2, input 3. Okay, so likewise still input n if you are having. Okay, to all of them different types of weight would be added. Weight like let's suppose first weight is added 2, second weight is added 7, third weight is added as 8, but to everyone the bias would be added is same. Bias would be 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. If it is 1, so it will be constant all across all of the inputs. Why is it so? If it is constant, then what change or what difference it is making? So it is a bit intricate. Basically, weights are different because we want to give emphasis upon a particular feature. If I want that the feature 1 and the feature 3 are most important and belongs to the subject, so the algorithm would decide and give more weights because it is in multiplication. No, so if the weight number increases, the input will also be multiplied with that and the value will increase. Whereas the bias is in plus. Okay, so bias in plus means like irrespective of the same value, if you are adding, the difference remains the same. What do I mean by that? Like let's suppose all of the inputs are 1, 3 inputs, 1 only. Weight, first weight is 4, second weight is 5, third weight is 6. Okay, so what it becomes? It becomes 4, 5 and 6. Okay, 4, 5 and 6 it becomes. But I add bias 1 to each of them, 1 plus 1 plus 1. Okay, so if I'm doing that, what is happening? It becomes 5, the next one becomes 6, and the third one becomes 7. Still the difference remains the same only, na? 1 difference is there. Then why we are adding bias? So bias is only added, the main purpose of adding bias is to have non-zero output. Okay, so that if you are having a zero input also, like you are having a blank image or the image is not having any subject or anything, so the weights will become 0. Okay, so the features would be counting for 0, but still we'll be having some output because of the bias, because bias is not in multiplication, it is in addition. So if the weight becomes 0 or the input becomes 0, it is in multiplication, the resultant is 0, but the bias is added as 1, so the minimum positive value will be having. So just as to hold the minimum positive value, we are having the bias, to be honest. Okay, so basically the bias's main purpose is to have an output even without any input. Okay, or with a 0 input also you should be able to have an output. Okay, so that is what the algorithm counts for. Okay, so that is about the like explanation of the CNN algorithm as a whole. Okay, so why should we add a non-linear activation function? So this is a bit more intricate. Basically, if we are judging for the first layer, so here you can see the statement that a neural network without an activation function is essentially a linear regression model. Okay, y equals to mx plus c, it will follow only. So for in order to make it understand more complex kind of features, so we need to add a activation function layer which will add non-linearity. Okay, so in this particular non-linearity will be added, and based on that it can analyze complex things. Okay, so if we are judging, so this is just a mathematical thing to prove that linear function is not only capable of making a CNN algorithm understand is, if you're judging for the first layer of the hidden layer. Okay, so this is the first layer. Okay, this is the first layer, this is the second layer. Okay, for the first layer, we will do the same calculation, y equals to input into weight plus bias. I have already told you. The same thing is written over here. So this is the first equation for the first layer. That is Z1, that is output. Everything is written over here. What is the meaning of Z? What is the meaning of W? Okay, so for the first equation, we are calculating for the first layer, Z1 equals to W1x. X is the input over here, plus the bias for 1, that is by B1, and A. A is what? A is the vectorized form of the linear function, because linear function we need to attach. Otherwise, how would we understand the linear function is not only capable of understanding all of the features. Okay, so, and if you're judging for the second layer, so just to give you a trivia that because all of the layers are interconnected, here you can see, so that is why the resultant or the result of the first output or the output of the first layer would be the input for the second layer. Okay, so keep this in mind. So that is how we calculate for the second layer. So second layer calculation will go like this. The Z2 equals to W2 A1 B2. Why A1? Because the linearized form of first one, still why we are taking, because the output of the first layer is the input of the second layer. That is why it is also written over here. Okay, so that means A2 equals to Z2. That becomes the calculation for the output layer for the second layer becomes this, because what we will do, will insert this particular value. Okay, this particular whole value will insert, okay, over here, over this one. Here you can see. Okay, so we have inserted, so Z2 becomes, Z2 equals to W2 W1x B1, the same value that we have inserted over here, plus B2 remains as it is. Okay, so Z2 remains as it is, W2 remains as it is. Okay, only for the A1, because like only for the A1 we have put in the value of A1. Okay, so that becomes a calculation to be, if we take the common over here, so Z2 equals to, so we'll do a simple calculation, not taking common as of now. So W2 will be multiplied with this as well as this. So W2 into W1 into the whole bracket X plus W2 into B1. Okay, because it would be multiplied with this and as well, So W2B1 plus W2B2. Okay, here you can see. Now we can take the common, because why we take the common is because it is not that we'll always be calculating for the two layers. The layers can be n number. Depending upon the intricacy of the problem, the layer will increase in this side also, in that side also. Okay, so it can go up to n this side and n in this particular side also. I can be like, it can be multiple hidden layer h 1 2 3 4 5 6 to n, and here also it can go on to h1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 till n. Okay, so that is why w2 into w1 into w3 until wn we can call it as w, whereas w2 into b1 plus b2 we can take all of the things as a bias. So the second equation again becomes z2 equals to wx plus b. That means again it is following the same equation, y equals to mx plus c. So that states that, what it states, that all layers will behave same way because the composition of two linear function is a linear function itself. No changes. That is why if there is no change, okay, and it is like analyzing straight away, then it cannot become intelligent. That is why we need to have a non-linear activation function in order for the algorithm to be more sophisticated, and in order to learn, integrate pattern, and to consider differences that are out there in the in the new thing. You have to analyze newer pattern, and in order to do that you need to take different perspectives and with respect to the errors. That is why non-linear activation function is to be added. Okay, ReLU is one kind of an activation function. I have already told you. The full form of that is your rectified linear units. Okay, so rectified linear units is the full form. And ReLU is most widely used over sigmoid or tenth or leaky ReLU. The reason is ReLU learns much faster and like as compared to sigmoid and tenth, and it is computationally less expensive. Basically, it is lighter on the calculation or computationally less expensive. That is why it is most widely used, and of course the accuracy is also higher as compared to the others. Okay, this is an example like the deep convolutional neural networks can be used to extract features from the proteins. Okay, that which particular amino acid will form the helix, which will form the strands, coils, and alpha helices, beta sheets. Does that? Okay, so that particular thing you can predict using CNN. So there can be multiple implications of the CNN. Okay, likewise we will take the example like protein structure identification. Okay, so then your knowledge transversion from your finding pattern from the PubMed based images, you can train using the whole PubMed data. So based on that, it can analyze a particular feature that you are looking for from all of the papers. Then it will what do you say, zest it out that particular thing for you and then give it to you. Okay, then repurposing of drug, cancer prediction from the medical images. That is what we are gonna see in today's demonstration. That how we can categorize different images. Instead of cancer, we'll be talking about pneumonia based images, but it will work the same. The training of the algorithm remains the same. Okay, so machine learning cancer detection app, self-diagnostic apps such as your Skin Vision, which is developed by Amsterdam-based company. Okay, so which can basically judge for the skin abnormalities that you have. So you take a snapshot of your skin, and then from that particular image, it can analyze that what are the chances of yours to have a skin cancer, or you're having a skin cancer or not. There's that. What is the probability with a 95% or more accuracy that is there. Okay, so that is about it. Okay, so that is about the theoretical aspect of it, and now straight away move on to the practical aspect of the things. Okay, so in order to do the practicals, I have chosen to take a Kaggle repository. So you can I will attach the link in the video description also, and you can also type in medical image analysis with CNN Kaggle. Okay, so you will be redirected to this particular page only. Okay, so Kaggle is a repository just like your GitHub. Okay, so repositories can be used for multiple purposes though. So you can download all of the your Python or R based libraries from here. expert advice that you can get from here, or some multiple exercises that you can do if in order to like you want to copy this particular course, and you can create a particular collab notebook and copy this particular thing over here over there and then execute it. It is a cloud server. You can use this particular uh, Kaggle notebook as a IDE, integrated development environment. Okay, so or you can use it in VS Code or any other like Jupyter notebook, Spider. Okay, anywhere you can use it. Okay, so basically it will work the same. Okay, here I will just explain you the codes. Okay, so that is there. So if we go on to the input, so analyzing the input is very important, that what we are having as an input. I have already stated that we need three kind of data set for our algorithm, any kind of machine learning algorithm, to be honest. So the first and the most pivotal data that we require is of training. Okay, so we need to train our data. So whatever be the whole raw data, will divide or will what do you say, like give the maximum amount of that data in the training, because I have already stated training is the most rigorous process via which our algorithm learns. Okay, so in the training data set, here you can see three folders are there. One is called as test, one is called as train, one is called as your validation data set. Okay, so validation would be having the least, after that the test would be having, and the training would be having the maximum amount of data. Okay, here you can see the training data set is having pneumonia based images. Of course, these are images. Okay, so the folder is having multiple x-ray x-ray of chest x-ray, because it is having, because that is how you judge for the pneumonia in the preliminary stages. Okay, so how much of a congestion the patient is having. Okay, so these are the normal reports, 1341, whereas the pneumonia patient reports are 3875. so let's take a look at how a normal image looks like and how a pneumonia image looks like. Okay, so if I just zoom it out. Okay, so if I zoom it out, here you can see clearly that two of the lungs outlining you can see in black. Okay, so because this is a normal image. Okay, I can like show you other images also. There are more than 1000 images. Okay, so here you can see the clear understanding of lungs you can see over here. Okay, whereas in these are the normal images. Okay, so the normal patient, whereas the pneumonia images, if we go on to, okay, so here you can see these are the images of infection from pneumonia. Okay, if I go on to this, here you can see the congestion is much more. Okay, so if I go on to some other image also, here you can see more congestion. You can see white spots in between. Okay, so the bronchioles are being filled with mucus. Okay, and based on that they are having the congestion. Here you can see white spots over there. Okay, so multiple white spots that has taken into all of the like what do you say, mucus, like your alveoli, what it is called as. Okay, so these are the normal, basically these are the pneumonia patient images that you see. Okay, and all of the images are having their unique encoders, or basically the unique ID you will be giving, basically unique tags, so that you can call these particular things later on. Okay, so it is having the maximum amount of data. So if I go back to this particular data set, okay, so you can study about it. So like the test would be having lesser than that. Here you can see normal 237 234 files, and pneumonia 390 in the test set. Okay, similarly if we go on to your what do you say, your validation directory, we'll be getting much lesser, like 8 normal, 8 pneumonia, because the purpose of all of the data sets are different. Mind you that the training data set is used for the training purpose. Test is far lesser because it is used just to judge that the algorithm has learned well or not. Okay, whereas the validation data set will give you the accuracy that, okay, so if I take any of such images and give it to the thing, and now what is the efficiency of the algorithm to judge that whatever image I am throwing at it belongs to a pneumonia infected person or a normal person. Okay, that is the purpose. Now you can keep all of this particular data, you can download also. Okay, download and keep it in your C drive or anywhere if you want to keep it, and then you can call it give the folder path over there, or here you can directly take the path because it is already in the input. So I will explain the codes a bit faster over here. Okay, so before that you need to understand one more thing, because it is much in depth of your Python. So you need to understand certain libraries that concerns to like analyzing and what are the steps and the features that you require. First library that we require is TensorFlow over here. Okay, so TensorFlow is a library that is used for training your machine learning algorithms. Okay, and particularly for your deep learning based things. Okay, we'll use TensorFlow. Okay, and TensorFlow, under TensorFlow you have a a class of another library that is a subclass of library that is Keras. Okay, so normally what we do when we are calling a particular library, we also call it as in a shorter format like import TensorFlow as TF, so that every time we don't have to write TensorFlow, we can write TF, so it will be called. Okay, so it is already in the Python library, it will understand. So import TensorFlow as TF. Okay, then from TensorFlow keras.preprocessing.images import image data generator. Why image data generator? Because based on the image data generator, we can manipulate the image. We want it of a certain kind, or let's suppose all of the images are raw images, no? So in this particular input, so raw images will be haphazardly arranged. So we want to arrange them in a particular order, basically cleaning of the data, pre-processing of the data. For that, we need the image data generator in order to trim that or to keep all of the images of the same size. Some images might be upside down, we need to flip them, okay, right or right, left, whatever. Okay, so crop it, this, that, so that all of the images should be on the same page, so that we can use the similar parameter to ask our machine learning algorithm to work upon that. Okay, so from TensorFlow.keras application, from TensorFlow, under TensorFlow Keras, under Keras application, and from that application import VGG16. VGG16 is having the basic layers of CNN. Basically, it is one kind of a, you can say this is a base model of convolutional neural network. We can basically pull this particular base model and then we can build up upon that. Okay, so the all of the basic layers of convolutional neural network it can pull. That is your VGG16. Okay, 16 layers it will pull it from there, would be having all of the layers that we have just talked about. Okay, the basics it would be having. Now you can tell it that what particular kind of activation layer you want to keep, like ReLU you want to keep, the second activation function you want to keep it as softmax, this, that, those you can build upon, but the base layers can be the base can be pulled from the Keras application. Then after that, from the layers, we'll also be pulling out the layers, because multiple layers would be there, the deep layers that we talked about, then the different models. Okay, then pre-processing, for the pre-processing, we'll also need the image library. Okay, and then we will also require to import NumPy as NP. What is NumPy? NumPy basically number Python. Okay, so NumPy is a library concerning with numerical calculation. Whenever you want to do some complex mathematical calculation in Python, okay, so you need to call the library as NumPy, like matrix based differentiation, this, that, or even certain type of mathematical calculation that you want to involve, you will require NumPy. Okay, so it is a good practice that you import all of the libraries at once, and then you can proceed with the further part of the things. Okay, so of course, for if you want to print something in the form of a graphical representation, so you can also call out the visualization libraries like matplotlib, cbond. Okay, all of those you can, like cbond as SNS and your matplotlib as plt plots. Okay, so that you can plot any kind of graph, like your heat map you want to plot, Boolean plot, this, that, whatever may be the requirement based on that. Okay, if you want to know about the efficiency of the system, likewise. Okay, so now we can see like setting the path first for the training directory. dir means directory, training underscore directory. So here you can see this, these are called as comments, as you know. Okay, so whatever we are doing, we just write it over here. These part of the codes doesn't get executed. If you want to copy the code, you just simply go on to here, copy this, and now you can paste it in any of the IDs or any of the notebooks that you want to. Okay, So for the training directory, given the path, why this particular path is given? Because in the input we are having, so that is why kaggle input, inside kaggle, go to input, inside the input you have chest x-ray pneumonia, under that you have the chest x-ray training data, pull that. Okay, so if you are keeping it in your C drive, so it will go like C, then your name, whatever be the file name, multiple folder name, and then you will give the path like that. Okay, so for the training directory, for the test directory, for the validation directory. Okay, likewise you will give, and after that you will mention the dimension of the images. Okay, so this is very important. Image underscore size that you're defining, this is a variable. Image underscore size, whatever name you want to keep it, you can keep it. Okay, so image size equals to 224 into 224. It is here, it is represented as a comma because that is the format, but in general you can call it as 224 into 224. That is the dimension of the image. Okay, so height width. Okay, and batch size, in one batch how many images you want to process. This is very important, focus on this. 32 images in one batch I want to process. You can increase the batch, by the way, or you can decrease the batch also, but if you have too much of a data or too much of an image, you need to you have to find a middle ground of efficiency of the computers, because if you are increasing the batch size too much, okay, so then the computational power required would be less, but the accuracy might also get compromised. Okay, and if you are keeping the batch size very low, so there would be multiple steps, computational burden will increase, the accuracy will also increase, but the computational burden would be too much and it will take too much amount of time. Okay, so you have to find a middle way of both so that the accuracy as well as the computational power is in check. Okay, yeah, so mostly we need a very powerful system if we are analyzing multiple of such images, because multiple of calculations would also be going on over here. Now the data augmentation, basically I have already told you the raw data would be having some of the images upside down, some of the images are not in the exact size, so we need to resize them, and for that we use the image data generator. Okay, so training data generation, so basically train data generation, train data gen equals to image data generator, and under that we'll be using rescaling. Rescaling means we are rescaling that particular format, reformatting that particular, all of those particular images, and all of the images will be proceeded likewise as per this particular instruction. Okay, so rescaling is done in this particular rotation has been done, shifting of the range of a smear, zoom, if a certain zoom is required in order to analyze the images in further more details. Okay, horizontal flip or your any kind of nearest flip, you anything you want, you can proceed from here. Okay, so this is a data augmentation that you're doing. Okay, so basically pre-processing step. After the after the data augmentation, basically making it ready for the pre-processing, now we will do the pre-processing. Okay, in the pre-processing what we do, we just define the image size and the batch number that we have already defined. We will just keep it in there. Okay, so we will do it for training, test, and validation, all of them. Okay, so train generator equals to train data generation, flow from directory. Okay, so why flow from directory? Because it has to take the data from the directory. No, so which directory? Train directory. Okay, so the training directory. Target size is image size. Image size means the value of this particular thing is stored inside this variable, image size. So whenever we are now writing that the target size would be the image size, that means the target size would be 224 into 224. Okay, so then the batch size equals to batch underscore size means 32. Okay, so 32, and the class the mode of classification would be binary classification we want. We can have multimodal classification as well. Okay, so binary classification that we are looking at, so basically because of binary classification, the all of the images that you see would be counted upon in the training directory. How many images were there? All will be added up and they belong to two classes. Why does it say like that? Because if you go to input, okay, here you can see in the training data set how many are there. 3875 plus 1341. If you add, this is the number that you get. Okay, 5216 images belongs to two class. Why two class? One is normal class, another one is pneumonia. Those are the two classes. As it is, you will be doing it for the test. Okay, so for the test, now the addition will happen. So it will be 602 or 624, because it is having 284 or plus 380 something images for the pneumonia for the normal. So again 624, the total images pneumonia plus normal belongs to two classes. One class is pneumonia, another one is normal. Same. Okay, same thing you are writing for the validation here. You can see, instead of the training generator, you will do the test generator and just the rescaling will do. And then same for the validation generator. Okay, binary classification. Now this time around you have seen in the validation dataset, we are having 8 images from the normal patient, 8 images from the pneumonia patient. That is why 16 images belongs to two classes. Again, same two classes. Okay, pneumonia and normal. Okay, so why we divide the data into all of these? I have already told you the purpose of all of the data sets are vastly different, but here we are making a model. Because we are making a model, we'll be using the training data to train the machine learning algorithm. And later on, we'll use the validation data set or the training data, test data set to judge that how much our algorithm has learned. So the main thing that we focus upon over here are these 5,216 images. Okay. Now let's create the CNN model. This is the main step. Okay. So for the main step, we will take the base and then build upon it. Base was your VGG16. I have already told you. So the base model equals to VGG16, and in that include top false weights, ImageNet. We'll be using the ImageNet weights. Okay, input size already given over there, 224 into 224 into 3. I've already told you the the length, breadth, and height. Okay, so how many filters we are using would be written over here. Okay, then layers in base model, because we have pulled layers. Remember, here we have pulled layers now. So these are the deep layers that we use for the hidden layer purpose. Okay, so we'll call the layers in base layer model dot layers. Okay, layers trainable false. Okay, then X layers, what particular kind of different layers that we want to concern with or basically take. Basically, flattening layer will be used for converting the 2D into one-dimensional vector. So layer dot flattening. Okay, base model dot output, because that output would be processed by the hidden layer further. Okay, then the dense layer. Dense layer means all of the hidden or the fully connected layer that we are talking about. Okay, so that will actually do the analysis. Okay, so 512 activation function that we are using over here is ReLU for the first one, and for the second one we are using sigmoid. Second one means second activation function is used for converting the machine readable language to the human readable, basically converting it into the percentage terms. Okay, at the final output. And what is a dropout? Dropout, basically anything which is beyond this, you can drop that particular thing. So that is a dropout. Okay, model equals to model, base model input, and X. Okay, and that is about what we want to train. So this is the algorithm for your training. Now compile the model for the training and what we want to print in each of the epoch. Okay, so first you need to understand what an epoch is. Okay, so first compile the model. In order to do so, what we will do, model.compile. Okay, so what we are compiling, all of the things that are there. So optimize equals to TF means TensorFlow, under TensorFlow Keras, under Keras, optimizer, Adams. So this is what we are keeping, and then loss we want to reflect after each epoch, and accuracy we want to reflect after each epoch. Okay, so then training the model, history equals to model fit, train generator, from that it will take the train generator we have created. No, so this is the train generator. From this it will take the data, and we want to come up with 10 epochs. Okay, and validation data set equals to validation generator already created. Okay, so what is the epoch? A single epoch. Let's take about the definition of a single epoch first, then you will understand. So epoch basically means that the whole data set, that is a whole training data set, that is 5,000. Here you can see 5,216 images passing through the algorithm once is called as one epoch. Okay, the whole 5,216 in this particular case. Of course, the training data would be different. So the definition would be the whole training data set passing through the algorithm completely, like the complete training algorithm, the complete training data set passing through the algorithm once completely would be called as your one epoch. Okay, so here the complete number of images that we have in the training dataset is 5216. So complete passage of 5216 image, okay, would be called as one epoch. Okay, so but we are like processing all of those images in 32 batches. Okay, so mind you that, so what we have to do, instead of this many steps, it will be done in 5216 divided by 32, because 32 in one batch we are processing 32 images. Okay, so either you do divided, okay, so 5216 divided by 32, that becomes 163. Okay, or the vice versa also you can do, 163 into 32 is 5216. Okay, so like more number of epochs if you keep, the accuracy will increase basically. Okay, and the losses will be lesser mostly. That is what is anticipated. Why? Because epoch is just like revising. It is like what you are doing, you are training your machine learning algorithm. So with each training, what it does is, let's suppose you are reading a book. Okay, so you are going through the whole book as many times. If you read that particular one book once, that is one epoch. Okay, the n number of times that you revise would be that number of epochs. Like if I have revised the whole book 7 times, 7 epochs. Got my point? Like reading the whole book once is one epoch. So just like that, passing the whole training data set once in the algorithm is one epoch. So maximum number of revisions you do, better you are trained on that particular subject. So that is why more number of epochs means higher accuracy. That is what is anticipated. But more number of revision will also take more time for you. So that is why you need to find a middle way that has to be like, it should not be burdensome for you, and the revision should be enough for you to understand it better so that you can perform well in exam. Just like that, the epoch, if we keep it as 100 epoch, of course the accuracy will increase much higher, but the computational burden will also be much higher, and it will take much time to execute that. Okay, so we will be requiring much higher GPUs, much more time engagement would be there. Okay, so that is why we have to find a middle way between the number of epochs that we want to keep it. Okay, and that is why here we have kept as 10. Okay, so 10 is a decent amount, okay, which will give you a good accuracy, as well as it is not too much burdensome for the computational calculation. Okay, so that you will see. So validation data. Okay, so validation data would be your validation generator. From that you will take. So after each epoch, what do I expect? That print the losses. Okay, because after each epoch there would be certain losses, and what is the accuracy? After each epoch, we expect the accuracy to be a bit higher and losses to be a bit lesser. Okay, because losses should be lesser. Okay, and that will increase the efficiency of the system, and the accuracy should be higher. Here you can see the first step one. Excuse me. So first epoch out of the 10, okay, is being executed. 163 steps are executed. Why? I've already told you, 6216 divided by 32, 163, because in one batch we are processing 32 images. So 163 out of 163, how much time it took? 158 second and 867 millisecond per step it took. Okay, so it is a good amount of time. Okay, then losses were 0.3691, and the accuracy is, if I convert it into percentage, it would be like converted into percentage by multiplying it into 100, 87.88%. Okay, validation loss was 0.49 and the validation accuracy was 75%. In after each epoch, you can see the accuracy, like see the losses have decreased from 0.36 to 0.20. Accuracy has increased from 87.88% to 91.51%, and likewise. Okay, validation accuracy is not changed for the initial 3 steps. Okay, 3 epochs. In the 4th epoch, the validation accuracy has also improved. Okay, anyways, the like the normal training accuracy is anyways increasing. Okay, after each epoch, and at the end you are having 93.98 whereas the validation accuracy again drops down to 75. I have already told you it is not that always it will increase only. Okay, but we need to take an average actually. Okay, so evaluate this particular model, and for that we'll be using the formula of average, okay, into 2f percentage. So this will give us the accuracy percentage. Okay, so the total loss were 0.2908. Okay, and the total accuracy concerns to be 90.54% roughly. Okay, so the test, so yeah, so of course if you do into 100 of this, because there's a probability value, it lies between 0 to 1. If you do multiplied by 100, it will give you the test accuracy to be 90.84%. Okay, so that is there. And then you can save the model. Okay, here you can save it like this, save as Kaggle working directory, or in the like if you're working in your own ID, you can save it in your C drive, or like in your Mac, wherever you want to save it as download and do that. Okay, so that is about the model. Now we can test the model. So how we will test the model? Basically, we can take a random image from the validation dataset and throw at it and see that it can analyze that particular image as pneumonia or a normal person. Okay, so that means the algorithm has learned well, isn't it? Because we see that already the accuracy of its learning is 90.54%. That means out of 10, 9 it will accurately predict that the image is from a pneumonia person or a normal person. Okay, one, it might not be that much efficient enough, okay, to judge. So let's see. So load the training data. Okay, so the model equals to TensorFlow Keras model. So we'll load that particular thing. So because that is this is the model that we save now. So that particular model will be judging for us. That is the CNN model. And after that, we will load the example data, and we will take the example from the we'll give the path of that particular random any image from the validation data set. Okay, so the validation data set that we take, you can see validation. Okay, so chest x-ray, validation, pneumonia we are taking. Pneumonia person, 1946 bacterial infection, 4880 JPG. So this is the, of course, the image name, that is your .jpg. Okay, so image equals to load that particular image. The target size we define, again the 224 into 224. Okay, the image axis 0. Okay, so make prediction. So, and when make prediction using the model, of course. Okay, so here that is why I say prediction equals to model.predict. Okay, so model.predict image, and we need to apply if else function. Why if else? Because if it is below 0.5, then print the image is of a normal person, and if it is beyond 0.5, then print the image is from pneumonia person. Okay, so the person is having pneumonia. So of course we already know that because we have annotated it initially, and we are taking the data from a pneumonia person only. So we are giving it a pneumonia based image. So it should be able to predict that. And once we run that particular algorithm, you can see it has detected in only 144 millisecond, because only one step is there, one image it has to judge, one upon one. So in 144 millisecond, it has predicted that the image is having pneumonia, which is absolutely correct. Okay, so almost 90.54% accuracy means roughly about 91% accuracy our model is having, which is very good. Okay, so likewise you can build a model, and based on that, the same thing can be done for cancer images also. What needs to be changed? Only the path and the images, that much only, and some of the features. Okay, so features it will extract from itself actually, you don't have to. Okay, so but you need to give more diverse cancer images, malignant, benign. Okay, so likewise also we judge for the malignant, benign, staging of different cancers, this that. Okay, so yeah, so that is all from my side as of today. Okay, so if you want to learn some more things, okay, so you can subscribe to this particular channel. Okay, looking forward to it, and we will come up with more of such videos and more of such complex videos, as well as your easier videos concerning to biology, bioinformatics, AI, and neural networks, all on those lines. Okay, so higher level of research, chem informatics, there's that we are concerned with. Okay, so if you are new to the channel, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe this particular channel, and share the channel with your peer ones. Okay, so this is Pradit Banerjee signing off. See you in the next one. Bye bye. Take care.